Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us while you're in London. First of all, can I congratulate you on basically getting the interview that we've always been desperate to get. You went there on topics that, for us, most of the time are kind of out of bounds, asking him about being the future king.
Well, there were no do's and don'ts on this. I was not told, don't do this, don't ask him this, don't, you know.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. To all of my house guests, come in, make yourselves at home, make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i. Welcome to my place. The last time I sat any formal exams was in the last century. It sounds really weird to say that. Anyway, in preparation for those exams, I always remember my teachers advising us to start with the most challenging question first, so we could get it out of the way and focus on those questions which we could tackle with less difficulty. So, although I'm not impressed by any of Harry and Meghan's siblings, I'm going to kick off with Samantha and Thomas Markle, because in my humble opinion, they are the ones who display the most egregious behaviour. Egregious behaviour is conduct that is shockingly bad, extremely noticeable and far beyond a reasonable standard, often appearing as flagrant or outrageous. The term, originating from the Latin for standing out from the herd, now typically describes an exceptional level of wrongdoing or negativity, such as an egregious error, lie, or act of misconduct. Now, just in case you weren't aware, both Thomas Markle Sr. and Jr. emigrated to the Philippines about 5 months ago. Unfortunately, earlier this week, the country experienced a 6.9 magnitude earthquake, in which 69 people so far have been reported as deceased. Strangely, but not surprisingly, the tabloid headlines I came across didn't say Samantha Markle's father, they said Meghan Markle's father, demonstrating once again that these media vultures can only survive in this economy by pillaging Meghan's name. Now guys, just for clarification, if I'm referring to Meghan with her full name, I usually say Meghan Sussex, but for the purposes of this particular article, I'm going to keep it as Meghan Markle. Not out of disrespect, but just for context. This article is from The Independent, published on the 1st of October 2025, and the headline reads, Meghan Markle's father refutes claims made by her estranged half-sister about being stuck in Philippines following earthquake. Meghan Markle's estranged father has denied claims made by the Duchess's estranged half-sister that he is stranded in the Philippines following Tuesday's powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake. Samantha, eldest daughter of 81-year-old Thomas Markle from his first marriage, took to X on Tuesday claiming, My father is stuck on the 19th floor of a building in the Philippines after a massive earthquake and he can't walk and he is trapped. Placing the blame on Meghan, she said, "Shame on my disgusting, evil, effing sister for putting our father in this position. I hope she is cursed." The proud MAGA supporter followed up in another post writing, "Shame on Harry and Meghan. May they be damned. He gave her everything and this is how she repays him." However, according to TMZ, Thomas has insisted he is safe and in no way trapped and unable to walk. "I'm currently sitting on the couch in my hotel room with my feet kicked up and watching Charlie Chan movies. I'm quite comfortable," he told the outlet, noting that the earthquake's epicenter was about 100 miles from where he lives. He added that he hasn't even spoken to Samantha and is unsure why she said he was trapped. The Independent has contacted Samantha, a relative of Thomas, and a representative for Meghan for comment. In the comment section of Samantha's post, one user was skeptical about whether Samantha had actually spoken to her father. Using an ableist slur, surprise, surprise, she fired back, "I talked to my dad several times a day and was on the phone with him, my brother and our friend. I had texted him right before and was on the phone while they were trying to figure out what to do. What do you mean, how would I get hold of him? Maybe you don't know about phones or texting?" Samantha then shared an update Wednesday, hours before her father spoke out. "I wish to extend our deep gratitude to everyone expressing concern about my father," she said. "Thank you. As of today, he is okay and making plans to get out of that building. They seem to be safe for now and hopefully there will be no serious aftershocks. Provisions are being made so that he won't be trapped in a similar situation again. God bless and stay safe, everyone." As of Wednesday, the death toll has risen to 69 as rescuers searched for survivors in collapsed buildings and landslide-hit villages on the island of Cebu. Okay, then it goes into the history of the family's relationships. And then the last paragraph says, "Thomas has on numerous occasions spoken publicly and controversially about his fraught relationship with his daughter. However, over the years, he has expressed his hopes that they could reconcile, even issuing a public apology during a March 2021 appearance on Good Morning Britain." I've shared my views many times with you guys on my channel that there is undiagnosed mental illness in our society, locally, nationally, globally. What makes it worse, guys, is that this woman has a qualification, 1 or 2 degrees, I don't know how many, in mental health. Those qualifications need to be revoked because I've never come across anyone in my life I've come across people like this, but in public for all the world to see, someone so unhinged and so deluded, so far from reality. How are you going to blame someone for a natural disaster? How is that logical in any way, guys? She needs to be committed to a psychiatric unit as soon as possible. And when I say that, I mean that in all seriousness. And the people that follow this woman, the people that listen to every word that she says, hangs on to everything that she utters in public and on social media, they need to be committed to a psychiatric unit as well. Just my humble opinion.
A few days ago, an earthquake hit the Philippines, and Samantha Markle jumped online claiming that her father, Thomas Markle, was trapped on the 19th floor. Helpless and unable to walk, she turned it into some tragedy. And as always, managed to twist it into Meghan Sussexes' fault. Yes, Meghan, who wasn't even there, wasn't even involved, and had absolutely nothing to do with the earthquake or Thomas's situation. And of course, the truth came out. Thomas wasn't stuck anywhere. He was fine, sitting comfortably in his hotel room. And once again, Samantha Markle got caught in a lie. And instead of admitting she made it all up, she tried to shift the blame and spin the story to keep Meghan's name dragged into a mess that didn't even concern her. And that's where you see just how these people are. Samantha inventing a fake crisis, Thomas forever complicit in the drama, and Carolyn Graham, the tabloid enabler who's made a career running these anti-Meghan narratives, giving them legitimacy when they deserve none. These three despicable people addicted to attention and obsessed with tearing down Meghan Sussex. Samantha can't stop inventing lies. Carolyn can't stop printing them. And Thomas can't stop being used as the centerpiece of their circus. If you need proof that Meghan was right about cutting these people off, this should be it. Their behavior is trash, their credibility is gone, and the only ones embarrassed are them. Meghan wasn't involved, but they'll never stop trying to make her the villain in their sad little story.
Meghan's half-sister decided that, as is her MO, she was not going to accept responsibility or take accountability for the lies she has told. Instead, she decided to spill the tea by confirming what many of us had already known. In addition, Meghan's half-sister thought it would be a good idea to expose the very same media outlet, the Daily Mail, who have been financially supporting her all these years, along with her brother and her father. Here's what she decided to post on her X account.
Trapped, we were just fine. Well, while I've got a senior editor of the Daily Mail, who I believed was credible, sending me messages that says you're trapped, and I was really fearing the building collapsing. You know, and even though you said don't worry and Tom said don't worry, I know you try to put on a brave face, but Caroline was saying you were trapped, the building was swaying, the elevators did not work, and you could not get downstairs.
But wait a minute, he didn't talk to TMZ at all?
Well, no, he didn't.
No, but
well, the building didn't have to fall. The bottom line is I was panicked by Caroline because she said you could not get downstairs and the elevators were not working.
how can TMZ say they talked to you, though? I don't understand how they could do that.
Nobody's been was taking the elevator because everybody was afraid it would be stopped.
Right.
Well, and Caroline said they didn't work.
Their power was failing in the building. You don't get any on the elevator if the power is failing because it stops.
Right, so everybody was taking the stairs, but you can't go down 19 flights of stairs.
All these publications got this from TMZ. They're right to saying TMZ that you told TMZ all this crap.
I didn't say anything to them.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean you to panic. The media is destroying me. And they're doing it unjustly because I cared and I was worried. And it's just crazy. I mean, so I'm a bad person for caring and for being afraid when Caroline said you were trapped. And I'm sorry, but you didn't know Caroline was sending me messages while she was sitting there with you.
Well, I saw Caroline today. I'll go see her again tomorrow. I'll ask her about it, okay?
Okay. Well, if she could issue an apology, I'd appreciate it because the Daily Mail even wrote nasty stories about me with their own senior editor messaging me that you were trapped in the building. So the Daily Mail was even writing nasty stories disparaging me, saying I was a liar and you were not trapped. But Caroline was sitting there saying you were trapped. I sent you the messages. And I've got them on my phone if anyone wanted to examine them. I mean, I think she should apologize and say, look, we were okay for the time, but the elevators weren't working and Thomas could not walk 19 flights downstairs.
And TMZ was saying that you never talked to him. He never talked to you.
Is the oldest royal bride in Yeah, I know. I'm glad you're okay, though. It just...
I'm sure I couldn't handle 19 Sussexes here. And right now I'm housebound because my legs are bad and I'm not feeling. I don't come out. I stay here on the couch. Caroline's come visit me on FaceTime. His girlfriend come give me food, but I haven't gone out.
I know. I just think whether there was a fire or an earthquake, Tom should make provisions for you to be able to get out.
Wheelchair, they could get them down the stairs.
Caroline said a wheelchair wouldn't do any good, but if
Oh, so many contradictions. How dare she say the Daily Mail are disparaging me, writing these things about me, saying I'm a liar? Is that not what you have done for all these years regarding Meghan? Is that not how you make your money? You have no right to complain. You're getting what you deserve. I find it interesting that Markle Jr. decided to spill his own tea by revealing his disdain for his older sister with regard to all of this mess.
You would not even believe the texts that were coming in from her last night. Unbelievable. We're not stranded on the 19th floor. I chose to stay because the elevators automatically shut down. So, and if you go down, you're not going to come back up anytime soon. And then there would not be any services available. I mean, not services, but there wouldn't be any place to go stay. But so we chose to ride it out and just hang tough. It was okay because I knew and I was expecting aftershocks. And so as far as Samantha getting on Dan Wooten, good Lord. Lower Dad down the side of the building with bed sheets. I mean, that's almost what it sounded like. Put Dad on a shower curtain and take him down the stairwell. Well, Dad was ready to go, and we're sitting here contemplating what to do, and it was okay.
My thoughts about him, which only occur if I feel the need to include him in an episode, have not changed in any way, shape or form. Although there may be the merest hint of him switching allegiances, let us not be fooled by this individual, because if he hasn't already, it won't be too long before he reverts to his default position of relentlessly castigating the Duchess of Sussex. I also find it interesting that Samantha feels she has the power to curse anyone, because she clearly doesn't understand that her entire life was cursed way before Harry knew Meghan and Meghan knew Harry. Now, for the purposes of this observation, let's just separate her from her disability for a few moments while we re-establish the facts that Samantha's own mother thought she was a terrible person. Samantha has zero relationship with any of her children and they do not wish to engage with her on any level. All the husbands and partners she's had cannot stand her, and she has no stable home to speak of, because she used her resources to litigate against Meghan on multiple occasions, all of which have failed miserably. So when all is said and done, and we put these two women side by side, if you had absolutely no idea who they were, a PhD wouldn't be required to determine who is blessed and who is cursed. With that said, however, Samantha Markle, Grant, Rasmussen, whatever she's calling herself these days, will still have her little band of supporters in the British media and online whose behaviour is equally as egregious, because their hatred of Meghan's truth far outweighs their tolerance of Samantha's lies, simply because the latter guarantees short-term financial gains. There is no doubt that Meghan's half-sister felt empowered and emboldened by many of her ilk, that when she says something, it's going to carry weight. While she's under the misguided misapprehension that she had strengthened her ally base Meghan's half-sister spilling this particular cup of tea is indicative of her illegitimacy as a mental health care professional. It further invalidates her qualifications because had she just made the choice to stay in the background rather than seek the limelight on the back of Meghan's significant life changes, Samantha more than likely would have had a successful practice, adding value to the lives of people in her community who could have really benefited from her services. As we turn our attention to Harry's sibling, whose character I will always question, I listened keenly to this extended conversation which took place on Friday.
But what we do know is that Prince William has given an unusually candid interview to Canadian actor Eugene Levy for the show The Reluctant Traveller. In it, he covered everything from family life to how he feels about becoming king, and also how he is keen to make changes when he takes to the throne.
I want to create a world in which my son is proud of what we do, in a world and a job that actually does impact people's lives for the better. That is caveated with, I hope we don't go back to some of the practices in the past that Harry and I had to grow up in, and I will do everything I can to make sure we don't regress in that situation.
It sounds like the monarchy will be shifting in a slightly different direction.
I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good. And I embrace that and I enjoy that change. I don't fear it. That's the bit that excites me, is the idea of being able to bring some change. Not overly radical change, but changes that I think need to happen.
Jane, you're the one that speaks royal on the panel. You've had a long experience as a royal correspondent.
Yeah.
What do you think he's saying?
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? That he's chosen a Canadian actor in a sort of a very relaxed setting, because obviously if you're going to give an interview like that to a journalist, they're going to probably ask a lot of quite tricky questions. I mean, the obvious follow-ups to those would be, well, what changes?
Yeah.
What are you planning? What do you mean by more relaxed?
Yeah.
He mentioned his brother Harry. I thought that was very telling.
In telling in what way? Because he only mentioned him in passing. He didn't mention anything about the rift.
No, but he said my brother Harry, and he sort of it was the commonality of their experience, and
it was quite a benign reference. I thought
it was quite a benign reference, but it sort of looped them together. And earlier this week, the chimp expert Jane Goodall died. There was a very interesting snippet from all the stories about her, and she was one of the first people to hold Harry and Meghan's baby, Archie, because they were very close, and Harry had interviewed her for Vogue magazine and whatever. And she said she was holding Archie, and she did a funny, got the baby's arm and did the Queen way.
Yeah.
And Harry said to her straight away, he won't be brought up like that. So that's a very common, that's something they have in common, that clearly William is feeling the same way, that some of maybe the ancient traditions of the royals, the pomp, the ceremony, that he might be wanting to kind of do away with. And the scene where he arrives to greet Eugene on an electric scooter.
Yeah.
Imagine the Queen or Prince Philip doing that.
He did also say that my son would be proud of a monarchy, that my son
He said
would
my
be
son,
proud
he's
of,
got two, hasn't he?
rather than my children. I mean, of course, the son, will inherit George. If all goes to plan. But I thought that was actually quite traditional in it.
He might be doing the heavy lifting for George. He'll make the change, and then by the time George comes onto the throne, all the noise around it will have gone.
I've never really thought of that, actually, but you've just said it there. That he said my son, but not my children.
Yeah, because his son is going to be the monarch.
It is, but you'd want them surely all to be proud of what he does.
But the other two could choose to have a completely different life like Harry has.
I think there has already changed with, they have social media accounts. We seeing him there having a pint, we wouldn't have seen that in previous generations. I think they're already connecting with us in a way that perhaps there was more mystique around the royal family, certainly when I was growing up.
Yeah, I know, it's funny because I don't know how much I want them to change. I mean, I'm pretty neutral on the royal family. I don't have any big feelings either way. But for me, they're kind of wallpaper. And I know that sounds insulting. I'm not trying to be insulting, but they're just kind of there, you know? And I don't know if I want them to change that much.
Well, you see the pomp and the ceremony with the Trump visit, don't you, recently?
Well, hopefully that worked in our favour.
They bring in a lot of tourism.
Yeah.
And so I do sort of think, I think Republicans would say the more that they show that they're just like us, the more people are going to go, well, why are we paying millions for them?
Yeah.
I mean,
to live in these big
I
houses?
kind of liked it when there was a bit more untouchability, which is not a word, but you know what I mean, of the royal family. But I also like that with our movie stars.
Together about Prince William, because he also got quite personal.
Sorry,
Can
I
we play this?
digress.
So once you get
I'm
around
a
to
Harry
below
fan.
deck.
No, I'm a Harry fan, so I'm always a bit like. But actually, what's happened? What's happened with the dynamics of the family? Whether it's good to be relatable or not, everyone can relate to rifts in a family, not getting on with in-laws,
Well,
having
can I
a
show you this
terrible
one?
year, having an Annus Horribilis. No, Annus Horribilis.
Can I show you another little
I'd love
clip?
to see it.
Thank
I'd love
you,
to see it.
Katie. Here we are, everyone.
We've been very lucky. We hadn't had many illnesses in the family for a very long time. My grandparents lived to the high 90s. So they were the vision of fitness and stoicism and resilience, if you like. So we've been very lucky as a family. But I think when you suddenly realise that the rug, if you were, the metaphorical rug can be pulled from under your feet quite quick at any point, you maybe think to yourself, it won't happen to us. We'll be okay. Because I think everyone has a positive outlook. You've got to be positive. But when it does happen to you, then it takes you into some pretty, not great places.
Real catch in his voice there. But you use the word relatability.
Yeah, and
anyone can relate to that, having the rug pulled from under your feet.
Everyone, trauma is a fact of life on varying degrees for every single person, whether it's visible or it's more sort of an internal invisible scar. And he's had a really difficult year, with loved ones being ill and diagnosis. So I think what he's saying is it does remind you when your first big life-changing event happens to you, you suddenly become aware of mortality and how fragile life can be. And I think he's really sincere in what he's saying there.
Yeah, I think what William is doing and has done is that, yes, he's been through a lot, and a lot of people, again, would argue that they have access to private healthcare, etc., but it does not take away...
It doesn't emotionally help you.
Exactly. It doesn't take away from the fact that his wife and his father were going through something, very serious at the same time. But what he has to do as a member of the royal family normally is do that stiff upper lip, turn out, have to look like nothing's wrong. And I think what he's been quite strong on is taking the time that he and his family have needed to process it. And I think that will be a change
also,
in the future.
I had a sibling to lean on, and it's sad that, much as I'm a great Harry Camp person for many, many reasons, the fact that some of us do have a sibling or maybe that we can rely on. So that's obviously added to that awful
I think the mention of Harry was very telling.
Yeah.
I'm quite heartened by that.
Oh, look at Jane, look at Jane, she's spotted
I don't
something.
think he's doing the olive. No, I don't think he's doing.
You may recall I touched on the fact in last week's video that some people always seem to have a problem when Harry speaks candidly, but have the opposite reaction when William does the same thing. However, it has become increasingly apparent that the media are not content with the lack of engagement from the Waleses, which is why the media is so desperate to know what changes William is going to make. In my humble opinion, the reason William decided to spill the tea to a Canadian actor rather than a seasoned so-called journalist is because William is telling the media, without telling the media, that when he becomes king, the royal rota will be a thing of the past.
I have so much to say about this at a later time because I really want to deep dive into this. But this interview that Prince William did with American Pie's dad, Eugene Levy, I'm going to tell you right now, British media, although they're pretending like it was such a groundbreaking interview, they're pissed. And I mean pissed. And the reason they're pissed because Prince William decided to give this an exclusive to someone outside of the rota. And also, he made it very clear he will not be doing the things that, the firm usually does. But it was the messaging and the fact that he chose this person out of all of the UK media that he could have worked with. He chose an outsider. And we all know, when you break that pact with the UK media, there's going to be hell to pay. We're already seeing the cracks. Whatever pact William made with the UK media, it is starting to crack and crackle and pop. And I can just tell William is getting tired. And because of that, the floodgates is about to come. Watch how quickly they turn on William and Kate. Mark my words.
Just going back to the conversation which took place on Loose Women, one could argue that William has been through trauma before. So why is he behaving as though this is all new to him? And I initially thought that, but then I realised that 31st of August 1997 was an event that William had hardly any proximity to. And I mean that geographically, because as we know, Diana passed away in France while Harry and William were on holiday in Scotland. It goes without saying that Diana's death affected both boys, but I just observe sometimes that it affected Harry, and it still does, more than it affects William. Because this stiff upper lip attitude has been so ingrained in William that he has carried it into adulthood. Imagine having to train your brain not to be allowed almost to show any emotion, regardless of the gravity of the event taking place. So him having a horrible 2024, as I've said previously, has more to do with, put Kate to one side, it has more to do with Charles and his fragility, because it now becomes real that William has to take on this role. So he's laying the groundwork and basically saying, listen, things are going to change drastically. He's trying to intimate that there'll be subtle changes, but I believe the changes would be so radical that the firm won't even know what to do. Based on my assumptions, which could be entirely wrong, guys, I accept that. But based on my assumptions, members of the British media, in particular members of the Royal Rota, will very quickly need to find a new occupation. For a very long time, people held the belief that a mile could never be run in under 4 minutes, until on the 4th of May 1954, Sir Roger Bannister achieved the seemingly impossible in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. And for a task that was previously considered impossible, Roger Bannister's record was easily broken after just 46 days. William's reference to Harry, in my mind, is not an olive branch as some people would hope, because quite frankly I'm yet to be convinced that William is still not seeking to destroy his brother, but rather an indirect acknowledgement from William that Harry has achieved the seemingly impossible, from gaining victory over the tabloids in the courts to being the happiest he's ever been ever since their mum passed away, while he productively thrives on the other side of the Atlantic. And although William can't have the same level of freedom and flexibility for himself, he seems absolutely determined to make sure his kids are not bound by the same stifling constraints and protocols that he and his brother had to endure growing up, especially if that means zero media access to George, Charlotte and Louis. So perhaps on this occasion, William's tea spilling could be justified. So guys, I actually don't have that much more to add, primarily because I need to jump on a Zoom call in about half an hour. But briefly, I had gone to my local supermarket a couple of days ago. This is Asda, and it's the equivalent of Walmart in the US. In fact, I think Walmart owns Asda. As I say, I went to get some snacks, and as I was walking past the wines and spirits aisle, this caught my eye. I had no clue that this man had put his name, or in this case his face, to a wine. And it just reminded me that many of these celebrities, public figures, they know that they have a limited shelf life when it comes to their careers, so they have to diversify. Like Serena Williams, for instance, who has retired from professional tennis, and I believe shortly before she retired, she explored the beauty business, and I think she's a manicurist now. I know I've seen her on camera doing someone's nails. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you know more than I do. I was surprised to see that on the shelves in Asda. Would I buy Snoop Dogg's wine? No. I am not his target audience, and he knows who his audience is. When I saw that label, to me it was quite intimidating. That is for a certain type of consumer. That is not for someone like me. I'd imagine that the wine tastes good. He's got it in the supermarket. People obviously, well, I say obviously, people could be buying it. I've not heard it sold out, because this is the first time I've come across it. By contrast, Meghan's wines are more pleasing to me. I'd be more compelled to buy them, even not being a huge wine drinker. They are aesthetically pleasing to me. They always remind me of summer. And when I see people post online, and she shares them on her As Ever Instagram page, it just lifts my spirits.
Breaking news from As Ever. The beloved orange marmalade and apricot spread are back in stock after being sold out. But that's not the only update. Following the success of the brand's debut rosé, As Ever has now unveiled its newest wine, the 2024 Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. Fresh, crisp, and designed beautifully to pair with everyday meals or special gatherings. It rounds out the collection with the fan favorite spreads. The As Ever pantry just leveled up again. And like before, these won't stay on the shelves for long.
Guys, this lady is growing her business. So while these people, aka the triad of evil, her paternal side of the family, are going at it hammer and tongs, trying to get their story straight, still plotting and scheming the destruction and the downfall of Meghan. Meghan is literally minding her own business, and I will continue to support her in everything that she does, because she takes time over what she does. She moves in silence, and then when she's ready, she presents what she's been working on. She cares about her consumers. She's involved in the process, the creative process, the development process of her products, without disrespecting Snoop Dogg or celebrities like him, but they tend to white label products, basically stick their name or face onto a product that's already been created, just as another stream of revenue. I'm so glad Meghan doesn't do that. She has earned my respect because of the way that she conducts business, the way that she conducts herself, and this is why I will continue to support this woman. I'd love to get my hands on any one of those bottles, whether it's a 2023, 2024 Napa Valley Rosé, or now the 2024 Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. I'd love to get my hands on it, but that will have to wait. If you have ordered her new wine, drop it in the comments. How many of you ordered? When do you expect to receive them? And when you do receive them, let me know in the comments under a future video. With that said, guys, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video. Appropriately, in keeping with Meghan's latest offering in her wine collection, I'm going to leave you with some really great images of her at Paris Fashion Week.